Here we go, going live at 8 o'clock on a Monday evening with myself, David Massey. Not the Saturday preview, let's just get this right because we're doing it live. There we go. Not the Saturday preview, oh no. The Cheltenham Day 1 preview is is what we're doing tonight. Yeah, well, what can we say? A very good evening, guys. Listen, we've got 4 days of top class racing coming up. Hopefully, I can dig a few decent price winners out over the next few days for us all. Keep the good run going. Saturday wasn't by any means a disaster. We had a couple of nice places there and didn't do a lot of damage. And those that joined me on the Colossus, we won a few quid at Sandown as well. Going on the Colossuses, I'll get this bit out first. I'm going to try and put 3 place Colossuses up for Cheltenham every day to try and get as many of you. I know it's so frustrating for a lot of you. I know you can't get in and whatnot. I'll put 3 good ones up. I'm going to put a fair bit of my own money in with them so that we can all get on and have a go at this. Because if we can hit one, over the 4 days, you think it'll pay well. And Colossus should be boosting the pots as well. So I'll be putting those up in the morning. Hopefully tomorrow it should be around about 10:30 once we get a completely clear idea of what the ground is going to be like. It looks, unless every weather forecast that we're looking at is completely wrong, it does look like we're going to be starting on soft ground, I think, tomorrow. And we'll certainly be getting soft ground through tomorrow and Wednesday. May dry a bit Thursday, but not a lot, I don't think. I don't think it'll dry much before the end of the week. At least we're not going to get it heavy like it was last year, but nevertheless, it's still going to be pretty testing. It does seem to me that every time we have a Cheltenham meeting come around in the last year or so, it's rained either on the day or the day before. It might just be my imagination, but obviously having been down there a lot, it just sort of seems to me that we do get a lot of rain there. Anyway, let's go through the card. Obviously, we've only got sort of 15 minutes for each video before I get kicked out by YouTube, which is nice of them. Anyway, race 1 tomorrow is the Supreme. Now, look, there's offers all over the shop here. Hills again, 7 places, which looks a gift. Sky Bet are giving you basically a free roll of the dice to 20 quid. If you can get on with them, that's great. They're giving you the money back as cash. The likes of Paddy Power, Bet365 are 5 places, a quarter. Even that looks tempting. There's loads of offers here. You should be able to get stuck in here, whatever you're fancying. You'd be, hard pushed to lose money on this race. You really would. If you're just going to have one bet, have it with Sky Bet because you say free roll of the dice. Interesting that the money's come tonight for Angel's Breath. Classical Dream as well is supplemented for this. I thought Aldanza should be favourite, I think, on what he's done. I know the Betfair hurdle, champion hurdle double is difficult, but horses have gone close to doing it, including Kalashnikov last year. You go back in time, you've got likes of Get Me Out of Here that's had a go at it, and good solid sorts. And I thought Aldanza's speed figure in the Betfair was really good. Nigel Twiston Davis was talking the horse's chances up at the Cheltenham Weights launch. He was saying, soft ground would be absolutely ideal for him. And to me, I think he should be the favourite. So the fact that he's drifting out sort of 5-1 now, 5-1, fifth of the odds, 5 places, and you can see I'm 92 places. I mean, you'll need an absolute sledgehammer to keep him out. That looks again another way of playing it. You can have a free roll that way because I can't see him being out of the frame at worst. I think you've got every chance of copying the lot. Sadly for me, my anti-post interests went west tonight when Elixir de Nuts around about 6 o'clock tonight was announced as lame. Those of you that have followed me on the punt since last sort of November time will have known I was pretty keen on Elixir de Nuts, so it's taken a lot of the interest away for me. Having said that, there's a couple in here I thought there were big prices, especially with the rain coming. I think the Big Bite is a horse that was on my 10 to follow at the beginning of the year. I've got worries about Cheltenham, whether it's going to be his thing, but he handled Chepstow well enough. He's a big, long striding horse. He'll be even better over fences, and I'm just a little bit worried that others might have a bit too much toe for him tomorrow. But nevertheless, he's been betting tonight, 33 to 25. Lovely horse, the Big Bite. Whatever he does here, he'll do better next year. That I guarantee you once he sees fences. And Brandon Castle. I had a sort of a laugh and a joke with a friend of mine, Andy Weller, a few weeks ago about Brandon Castle. And I was sort of, after he won his 3rd race at Plumpton, I said, this is the sort that could turn up in a Supreme and probably finish 4th, 5th, 6th. And he was like laughing at me at the time. Again, here comes the money. He was 100-1 a couple of weeks ago. You can now get sort of 25 low price. They'll get 33. What he's done on 3 races at Plumpton is nowhere near good enough. But if you look at what he could do on the flat, I mean, he was 99 rated on the flat. Loved heavy going. He should stay this, even if he doesn't go from the front tomorrow. He'll stay and stay. And again, he's another one that you can just sort of see running on into places at a big price. So for me, Al Dancer, I think the most likely winner, but you know, both Big Bite and Brandon Castle make some each way appeal. The Arkle, I've had a bet. I wasn't going to be having a bet in this. I've had a bet. The more I look at the race, the more this has got burn up written all over it. I really do think they're going to go quick here from the front. There are at least 3 or 4 of these that are going to want a share of the lead, I think. And it's not hard to see this falling into a bit of a hole, this race, and something coming off the back. I like Hardline. I like Hardline quite a bit. I think he's got the requisite stamina for this. You always look for something that stays further than 2 mile, I think, when you're looking for horses that win Arkles. And Hardline's got that, and he's got the soft ground form. He's got that form in the bank. I think he might go off favourite tomorrow, and I wouldn't be at all surprised. I know a lot of the Irish preview nights, Hardline's been put up as one. But I'll tell you the bet I've had. You probably call me loopy, but I've had a little bit each way, 4 places on Slate House at 66 tonight. Do I think he's the best horse in the race? No, nowhere near the best horse in the race. Do I think he's in the first 3 in the best horse? No, I don't. But the wind up seemed to do him a lot of good last time. That's only 11 days ago at Newbury when he was second to Huntsman's Son. And I wonder now whether that was a little bit of a tester to see if that wind up had worked. He wasn't put fully through his paces that day. You go back last year and he's got some decent hurdles form, that would put him only sort of £6-7 behind the best of these. And he certainly won't mind the ground. He's the one that's going to be dropped out and held up. I can just see him picking them off late and coming through and nicking a place here, Slate House. I don't think, as I say, but I'm not saying he's the best horse in the race. He isn't, not by a long chalk. But the way that the race is going to be run, there are going to be horses that have had enough, but with half a mile to run. And I can just see Slate House clocking them off one by one, and he might nick 3rd, 4th. So I'm betting him for the place, really. The 4 places, 1 or 2 are going 4 places tonight. Sky Bet are going 4, and Bet Victor are going 4 places. So a small each way bet, Slate House, in what looks a difficult Arkle is the way that I'm playing that. As far as the Ultima goes, sadly again, my anti-post bet I think is probably going to go west with Manila Rocco, who I backed a couple of weeks ago at 12s. But he's such a ground dependent horse. He has to have top of the ground. I don't even think he's going to get good to soft tomorrow. If it was good to soft and by some miracle the rain missed, he might get away with it. But I don't think he will. And that's a big worry now for me with Manila Rocco. Undoubtedly well handicapped, undoubtedly, and there is still a big handicap in him. But I'm massive worries about that ground now for me. The 2 that I've sort of fallen on are a couple that finished in the frame in this last year. Beware the Bear, who looked a rejuvenated horse, shall we say, on New Year's Day here. They've had more positive tactics on him that day, changed the cheek pieces for blinkers, went from the front, and you could call him the winner an awfully long way out. He travelled a lot better that day than is normally the case with him. If he does that again, I don't think he's going to be able to lead here, but as long as he travels okay, I think that's the key. We'll know he'll come up the hill and he won't mind soft ground at all. He's £3 higher. I think he's £3 higher than last year. But even so, it's hard not to see him again. Everyone's paying 5, 6 places. Use the 6 places. You might as well. It's not hard to see Beware the Bear running well. And similarly, Vintage Clouds, 25 to 1. I've sort of come around to the idea of him. I wasn't mad keen when I first looked at the race, but the more I look, again, the ground's coming right for Vintage Clouds. Pulled up in the Welsh National. But a lot of Sue Smiths were pulling up around that sort of time. They weren't right. They weren't running their races. Whereas now she's back among the winners, and the horses, as you expect from Sue's yard, are running all the way to the line. They're running much better. So I thought Vintage Clouds, again, he's a bit higher than last year, which is a slight concern. But, that, you know, he did run well after, you know, when all said and done. He did run well in a couple of big handicaps after Cheltenham. So I think, including the Scottish National, I do think he's got each way chances against Vintage Clouds. Won't be as easy for him this year. But again, plenty of these aren't going to want this ground. So if you're using the 6 places, a small each way bet again on them 2, and if 1 it's the frame, you're more or less covering yourself, and maybe we can find a winner in there as well. Give me a copper now, Badly on the Drift. I thought that was a bad favourite when I first looked. He's drifting now. I'm just not sure he's got the experience for a race like this. I want a horse with a bit of experience. I know a good friend of mine, Catherine, fancies Mr. Whitaker, but I want to see him step up in trip before I back him. If you see what I mean, this is not a race to be finding out if you stay or not. And with Mr. Whitaker, I'm happy to sort of pass him over now at the price. Champion Hurdle, in terms of having a bet, doesn't really interest me now, I have to say. Although the fact that Lorena keeps on shortening up, very tempted to lay Lorena for a place now. I think she's got a bit to find with a few of these. I really do. Not just the front two either. I can't see either Appleshade or Belvedere not in the first three, which sort of leaves you a little bit with one place. They're back in Lorena, presumably because of the ground, but I just don't think a form. It's good form, but is it, you know, of the level of one or two of these? Not sure. I'm very tempted to sort of lay her for a place now, I have to say. But again, I had, you know, each way bets on Global Citizen earlier on in the season for this. He's now the same price as he was then. I was hoping he might have shortened up ground. I think won't help. He goes on soft ground, Global Citizen, but I think for me, he might have been a little bit better on good ground. It would have helped him get up the hill a bit better. So I'm not really very interested in terms of having a bet at the moment for the Champion Hurdle, I have to say. I do think Appleshade is the most likely winner. Move on to the mares. Again, here I've had a bet each way on Roxana. And I've had a small each way bet on Capsulate at 33s, who was second in this last year. Probably been kept fresh for this. That's a little bit pie in the sky with Capsulate, but again, there's a lot I don't like in the race, and it's a case of trying to find something I do like. Benedetta, by far the most likely winner, as long as she turns up fit on the day. Saw a photo of her the other day. She looked a bit tubby, I thought, actually. It's plenty big enough. With a few days to go, she might need to get a bit off of her, but we'll see tomorrow and see what the paddock brings. But you can quite often look at a William Mullins horse when you look at her in the paddock, and they're not gorgeous horses by any means. Then Wooly doesn't go for gorgeous; he goes for good, but he doesn't necessarily go for the flashy ones. And Benedetta fits into that mark very well. So I think she's the most likely winner on form. But Roxana, I think, is rock solid for, again, you know, for the frame here. I was quite taken with her in the paddock at Sandown. I was there that day, and I did think she'd come on for a run. And I thought she ran really well, actually, against Belvedere over a trip that was far too short for her. She'll handle the ground. She'll be staying on really well. You look at her form of last year when she was second to Santini at Aintree, and that's solid form. I mean, that's very solid form. All she's going to do is stay and stay. Benedetta might have another gear for her, but if he does get really testing, it'll bring Roxana into it, I think, for the win. I think she's got a chance. But I say, other than that, not a race I particularly want to get involved in. So it's a small each way Roxana for me. The Close Brothers is an absolute nightmare, I thought, to solve. I have had a bet. I'll tell you what the bet I've had is. I bet Springtown Lake here, in the hope that there's plenty you can give a chance to on form. But when you look at the race and you put them down in a pace map, there ain't that much pace on here. A lot of these are hold-up horses, midfield and rear. There's not too many that's going to want to go from the front here. And I wondered whether Springtown Lake might get his own way up front. Fourth last time. I didn't think it was a bad run, considering I didn't think the track would suit him very well. He was going right-handed last time. I know he's won right-handed, but I think he'll be happier going back left-handed, as he showed at Haydock the time before, when he was second to Mr. Whipped. And he was giving Mr. Whipped a bit of weight that day. He was giving him £5, got beat 2 lengths. Now, you know, Mr. Whipped has been talked up in some quarters as a likely sort for bigger races here this week. If that's the case, then it does make Springtown Lake look pretty well treated, you'd have to say, off 141. Soft ground, heavy ground, no problem at all. And I know the horse won at Sandown, you know, sort of, I'm saying wants to go left-handed, but he's won right-handed. But even that day at Sandown, kept jumping left all the way around. It was just a case that day that he was simply far too good for them. So it didn't matter that he was jumping left. He was just in a different league than his opponents that day. So I quite like his chances, I think, off a mark of 141. I'm hoping he gets quite an easy lead here. If he does, I think he's got a bit of a chance. The other one that I've had to bet, really, going back to what I was saying about the Oracle and Slate House, got beaten by Huntsman's Son at Newbury last time. And I think if Huntsman's Son was trained, and this is not being rude to Alex Hales at all, I like Alex Hales. Anyone that knows me will know I speak of Alex Hales in a very high regard. I think he's a trainer that knows what he's doing. But if Huntsman's Son had got a Paul Nicholls or a Nicky Henderson by his name, I think he'd be half the price he is. You can still get sort of 25 to 1 about Huntsman's Son tonight. And for a horse who seemed rejuvenated by that wind operation at Newbury last time when he did beat Slate House, it was only a little race. It was only a little race, wasn't anything outstanding. But earlier on in the season, he'd given Kalashnikov, made Kalashnikov do plenty of work at Warwick. Just a mistake at the last cost him any chance. He would have finished probably about 4 or 5 lengths behind Kalashnikov. The mistake meant that he got beat 11. That's decent enough form. And then he's had a couple of runs in between them, but the yards horses simply haven't been right. So I'm happy to forgive those 2 runs. So here's a horse that's going to be picking up the pieces late. He's already got some Cheltenham form to his name in heavy ground. Go back last year, he was second in a handicap hurdle here to Remiluk off a marker 133. He's on 140, the penalty tomorrow. So again, I think 25 to 1 looks plenty big enough for a horse that ticks enough boxes: course form, ground, no problem, in form, and possibly now improving again. So 25 to 1 for Huntsman's Son, big enough for me to have a bet. And then we come to the 4 miler, where I really wanted to try and take the front pair on. Of those, I prefer Ballyward than I do OK Corral, mainly on the grounds that OK Corral is a 9-year-old and plenty old enough for a race of this nature. 9-year-olds, I don't think have got a particularly good record in the race, which is a slight concern. And similarly, Impulsive Star. I've seen one or two put Impulsive Star up, but I don't see why he's going to do. I don't really see why he's going to do any better in this time around than he did last time around when he was 4th to Rathbinden and he faded right out of it. It's a race that looks ready to sort of take the front pair on, I think. Now, Lebroy is an obvious one. I think Jamie Codd riding for Ben Pauling. I think the horse will stay. Looks like it will stay. When he was 3rd to Santini in December, all he did was sort of plug on at the death. So we've got the best jockey in the race riding a horse that ought to stay, won't mind the ground either. And I know Ben Pauling spoke very highly of him again at the weights day. He sort of gave him a really good chance for this. So he'd be an interesting one. And I've had a little bit each way at a big price on Just Your Type, with Charlie Longsdon's as well. I thought he did remarkably well in the Ida to finish within hailing distance of the front 4, given everything that probably could have gone wrong for him at Newcastle did. He didn't jump particularly well. He was badly hampered sort of mid-race. Then he was badly hampered again a couple of fences later. He nearly unshipped his jockey. He was out the back and falling out the back of the telly, and he's actually rallied quite well. So no problems with him staying. He's won on soft ground. He won on soft ground at Hereford last year, and he's run well at Foss as well in similar testing conditions. So, you know, there's boxes to be ticked there. Does he need to improve on what he's done? Are we back? I think we're back. Yeah, sorry about that, guys. Had some connection problems. Apologies for that. So as I was saying, with Just Your Type, ticks enough boxes for me in so much as it will stay, will act on the ground, and it'll be sort of plugging through them again. You've got 1 or 2 firms that are paying extra places again on this. I think Sky Bet are paying 5. Sky Bet are paying 4. Plenty of them are paying 4 actually, when it should be 3. So I've got a little bit each way on Just Your Type at a big price as well. They'd be my 2 in the last. I've got a best bet really on day 1. At the moment, I'm going to have a think about that. I don't know what my best bet is at this stage. I think a lot is going to depend on how much rain falls tonight and into tomorrow, particularly into tomorrow morning is you know, the key time from sort of 8 o'clock onward through to lunchtime, 1 o'clock. That's when the main sort of band of rain is moving through. And if it makes it very, very testing tomorrow, then there's going to be plenty of horses not getting home. So I'll let you know what I think my best bet is on the punt in the morning, where this video will be. I know 1 or 2 of you are looking now, so great, guys. Have a really good, as I say, have a good 4 days. I'll be back tomorrow night with another video. Thanks a lot. Bye bye.